All right, what's up, everybody? We are having some technical difficulties here. I'm trying to get Ian onto the line. I can see him when he doesn't have his thing muted or his camera off, but I cannot get his audio. If you guys can hear me, type into the box. Hopefully, we can get this sorted out pretty quick so I can get Ian talking to you guys. Um, but if you guys can see or at least hear me and potentially see the screen here with IAmA seven-figure copywriter with Ian Stanley, who is currently we're not able to see. But if you can do me a favor and just type in that you can see and hear this, that would be great. Let's see. Ian is waving at the camera, but nobody can actually see that. Let's see here. I don't really know what to do here, Ian. I don't know if there's anybody adept with Google Hangouts, if we can figure this out. All right, so everybody can see and hear, or wait, everybody can hear me. Crap. Hey, Ian, go up within Google Hangouts to the little cog-looking thing, that the settings, and see if there's anything on that that's causing you not to be heard. Maybe it's your microphone. It's probably your microphone. No? Hold on one second. Looks like Ian's getting some help. So, what's going on with everybody else? All right, so Ian's going to try again. So thank you to everybody that filled out the survey, and we got some really good stuff in there. And really what's going to happen, hopefully you guys have some questions ready. Hopefully we can get Ian's voice actually rolling here, and we can go through some of these questions and ask them to Ian, and he has been gracious enough to share some of his time with us. Hopefully we can get him rolling here, because you guys don't want to talk to me, you want to talk to Ian. And he keeps going in and out. In the meantime, you guys have any questions that maybe I could answer, and we can go from there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I know that, actually, you know what, I had a couple questions from Baron that I can address. As I said, this is not going to be a pitch for Ian's course. It's going to be mentioned, of course, during this, but there's no like pitch presentation or anything like that. We're just gonna try and talk to Ian and ask him questions if his frickin' audio will work. But Baron asked me a question. As a Copy Hour member, we already write about an hour a day. With the 80-20 email copy crash course, are we going to be writing for 30 minutes more now? That's really up to you. I would suggest it. I would even suggest, if you really want to get an autoresponder out before the new year, that you can eat some time away from handwriting the stuff within the regular Copy Hour, and you can do 30 minutes handwriting some of these emails, and you can just kind of consider it part of your curriculum for Copy Hour. That's fine by me. Or you can go the extra 30 minutes, and another option is to not even handwrite the emails that Ian has, and just kind of use his templates and move forward with those. Okay, so the second question is, can we choose any offer randomly, like an affiliate product on dating, and create an autoresponder sequence? I'm sure Ian will have something to say about that when his audio works, but definitely you can use this to do whatever you want with it. The idea is just to kind of quickly get 10 autoresponders, 10 emails up and running. Number 3, how much do we charge for clients offline to create funnels, say 5 emails? That's something that maybe Ian can take a look at. That's not necessarily covered in the scope of his course, and that's going to be something that you're really gonna have to start getting in there and figuring out yourself. I've seen people charge about $100 per email, and that seems to make sense. So maybe about $500. you got to look at it overall, check the business out, and how much is that autoresponder going to mean to them money-wise, and come to an agreement on your pricing as far as that goes. But I'm sure Ian might be able to talk about that a little bit more. And then really the guy to ask on that, if you haven't already, send an email to Rob Hanley. He's a guy that you might want to talk to. And then also Ed Stapleton Jr. And he's part of the cartel, if you've seen that. So those are the guys to ask about kind of the business side of consulting and being a freelance copywriter. This presentation, when Ian gets going, is going to be just talking about copy itself. So Ian, man, what's up with your audio? I see him milling around. You guys can't see it, but he's trying to figure this out. And it looks like we have a friend.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah. An email to Rob Hanley.
Yes.
He's a guy I can talk to, and then also Ed Stapleton Jr. Who's the second Ian? Oh, hey Ian, you gotta put headphones in or something. About kind of the business side of freelance copywriter. You need to get some headphones in. Ian gets going is going to be just talking about copy itself. So, otherwise, because there's a delay, so there's going to be my voice. What's up? Oh man, it must be your headphones. Do you just have any like cheap Google Apple headphones or anything? I'm really sorry about this, guys. I guess we're only about 7 minutes into this, so it's not the end of the world, but this was working perfectly earlier.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Perfect.
This is the third computer I had to try on, so stop laughing at me for my lack of technical skills. That wasn't my fault.
All right. So can everybody hear Ian now? Just type into that chat box. I think that we should be good now. But Ian, man, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
I apologize to everyone.
No worries. Looks like you had some help from a roommate there or something.
I used one of his computers, and now this is the other computer. So, how do I pull up the chat window now?
You know what? I have the chat window that it's within the webinar software that I use. So that's within Stealth Seminar. So I'm only going to be able to see that.
All right, no worries. Let's hop to it.
Okay. All right. So good. Now it looks like people can hear you. Ian, before we do anything, and while Ian's talking, guys, start sending in some of your questions that you might have. And Ian, just kind of introduce yourself. Tell us what you've been doing in the past. I know that people have listened to the audio that we did. If you could just kind of break down what you were working on before, and then now you've got the new job that you're going to be starting in, I think, in March or something. So just kind of break down what you've been doing and move us forward to today.
Okay, yeah, so I have been writing all the copy for one of the bigger direct response websites in the personal finance niche. I can't really reveal who that was just for the sake of the owner, but I was writing all their emails. We had over about 1.2 million subscribers, so I did all the autoresponders, all the blast emails, everything like that, as well as the copy and one-time offers and all that sort of different stuff for them. And then I was doing some stuff in the dating niche as well. And then I've been working with crisis education for the last couple months, and now I'm doing that full time. And I'm going to actually be moving to Austin in March to go and spend a couple of days a week sort of in an office just to help brainstorm and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at now, which for that it's really a lot of copy, like real video sales letters and selling stuff to a mass market and trying to get something to convert on the front end, which is a whole different animal than using email. Email makes it a lot easier to sell, for sure. But yeah, so that's what, and then obviously I'm launching this and doing this as well. So this is sort of where I'm at the moment.
Yeah. And so when we say seven-figure copywriter, what exactly does that mean? That means that your emails over the last 12 to 18 months have done seven figures, right?
Correct. Yeah, I personally, unfortunately, have not pulled in seven figures to my own bank account, but I've made other people a whole lot of money.
Okay. Very cool. And so you just got into this. You started working with that financial company that was 18 months ago?
Yeah, that was June of 2013.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, so if there are any questions, guys, this is going to be kind of a IAmA Reddit style thing where you can just ask any questions that you want about email marketing. You can ask Ian maybe a little bit more about how he got started or whatever you want to do. In the meantime, I do have some stuff that you guys had talked about from the survey. So really, you know, the questions that we got and the problems that we got in that survey all fell into about 6 or 7 different buckets. So six or seven different common issues that came up, and one of them was sequencing and the strategy behind putting together a sequence, an autoresponder sequence. So Ian, can you talk a little bit about how, when you're starting from scratch, you have 0 emails ready to go. How do you go from 0 to your first 10 emails? And then I know that you guys send out for like 2 years or something like that. So how do you, what's the sequencing strategy for you
Yeah,
guys?
so I mean, I like to get a 90-day autoresponder is great, but that's so intimidating that it's definitely not something you want to think about right away. You just want to, take it one email at a time. But as far as getting those first 10 out, I think, you saw I recorded a video yesterday, which I never have done before. It's pretty ghetto, but sort of going through that sequence. But what I'll do is I obviously start with a welcome email, which is I follow, it's either 6 to 8 steps that I'll use. There are 6 steps that I always make sure I follow for that one, just because it's such an important email. And a lot of people miss sort of critical elements of that can really screw up the rest of your autoresponder, because it's sort of the compounding interest side of things. Because if you screw up your first email, you screw up engagement for the rest of the sequence. And if you get that right, it'll improve everything from there on. Let's answer the actual question. So if I'm starting from nothing, I'm going to do as much research on the actual product as I can and the market. And I'll write the welcome email, then sometimes we'll write what I call a did you get it email, which is just essentially saying that did you get whatever the opt-in debate was, whether that was a free video or whatever that may have been. And then I'll either help them consume that on the next day, or I'll tell a story. So just whatever the hero story is, whoever the person is that's used the product, or if you own the product. What I'll do if I'm really going into a new niche and I'm doing something like that is I actually use Gliffy, and I'll create sort of a mind map and just lay out the basics of each email, because then by the time you actually sit down to write the text files, it's so fast.
So are you guys doing a bunch of, like, we've talked about this a little bit. Are you guys doing like a bunch of open loops, and is it like a crazy intricate thing? What's the sequence of it? Is there anything to that, or do you just have a certain types of emails that you need to write?
So yeah, as far as the open loops and stuff go, I mean, I think they can be great. They just require a certain level of skill, and I think they're a huge mental block when you're trying to write your first iteration of your autoresponder. So what I like to do is just I write the emails as is, and then I prefer to go back. If something pops up that's just a clear like open loop or nested loop, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's just essentially like a cliffhanger, something that doesn't get answered within that email, so people feel compelled to read the next one. or if you answer it a few emails later. So I have done that stuff and made it more intricate, but a lot of the time it sort of can get in the way of just getting shit done. So I love Autoresponder Madness and Andre's product. That was really like the thing that got me successful into marketing. Just because if you know anything about email, you can get your foot in the door because pretty much nobody does. But I keep it pretty simple. A big foundation of the autoresponders for me is it's this education-based marketing, where you're teaching them sort of your mindset and your methodology and ideas behind whatever your product or beliefs are, so that they understand what you're saying after, from there on out type thing. Because a lot of times people, they hop into an email autoresponder, or if you just start blasting right away, they might not know your background and your sort of methodologies and teachings and what you believe, so they're going to feel lost. So I'll try and put in, say 1 to 3 emails sort of outlining that belief system or educating them on certain aspects, like within dating, say it's, I use what's called a paradigm shift email, or like tipping the sacred cow, which is you're just taking a commonly held belief like, oh, guys need to use game and, pick up lines and wear fancy hats and nail polish and all that bollocks. And so you're pretty much just saying why that's a lie and educating them on that, because then everything you say after that will make sense to them, because you've now allowed them to view things through your lens. So that's sort of a foundation of the autoresponder I write, is like what are like 1 to 3 things that you feel like they need to know in order to feel like your product is the perfect fit.
Got it. Okay, well, we have a couple questions coming in here. This one is from Jason. So what strategies do you use to warm a cold list? So I'm assuming he's already built up a list of some sort and now kind of needs to reactivate it. Do you just start blasting? What do you do to warm a cold list?
Okay, yeah, this is something I've experienced with. I'm sure most people do that have had a list and then they just decide, fuck it, I'm not gonna. I apologize if I'm swearing too much, but you just sort of let this list sit there, and you have to start talking to them again. And I've done this more times than I would care to say. But what I generally do is I just sort of send them like a WhatsApp email, like, hey, and I explain just the fact that I don't try and just like send them an email as if nothing's happened. I'll write them and say, hey, you probably noticed that I haven't been sending out much lately. I had some stuff come up, or been busy, or whatever it may be. But expect that you'll be getting more emails coming up. In the meantime, I just wanted to share this with you, and then I'll write an email that's either just pure content or maybe does link to something. I did this actually a couple of weeks ago, and of course I haven't written them again, but and got a few sales from it actually, just writing out and linking to something. But you don't have to link. I would just say, just tell them the truth, just like, hey, we haven't talked in a while, but I am planning on communicating again. I apologize. That was, a mistake on my end. If you don't want to receive any more emails from me, just hit the unsubscribe button below. But I will be sending either a few times a week or daily. Just really lay it out. Be really clear about what's going on. That's the biggest thing, is just clarity. Because people, if you built a list of people that want to listen to you, they're going to be excited that you've emailed them again. And if they don't want to hear from you, then they just hit unsubscribe, and it's not a big deal. If that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we have another one from Baron here. I have 300 emails dormant for a year. Wow, it's a lot. Is it worth it to revive, or is it better to start new? So Baron, I don't know if you want to clarify on that. What do you mean by dormant? But Ian, do you have any thoughts on that?
Similar to that last question, where he hasn't sent them anything for a year. I would mail them. I've done the same thing. I have a few hundred people in mind that I just sort of don't, stuff gets in the way or whatever, and you don't think that you should keep emailing. One thing I will say one of the biggest things I've learned is that if you keep emailing people, they will buy. Like it's sort of insane, but if you just email people regularly for an extended period of time, I mean, we had people buying a product, and I say we were doing things very wrong. We were offering one product essentially for, whether the person had been on the list for a week, 90 days, or 2 years, and we had people buying that had been on the list for 2 years. So even if you haven't talked to them for a year, maybe it's 300 people, maybe only 20 will open it and want to keep listening, but it's 20 people to start with instead of 0. And if they've been willing to go through the effort of opening and reading those again, then they're probably going to be pretty responsive people. So I would say mail them.
So let's talk about what's in those emails for a second. You're sending out for 2 years, and I've heard Dean Jackson talk about this as well, where the majority of people on a list will buy within a year and a half. If not your product, they'll buy another product. So there's no reason, like a competitor's product, so there's no reason not to kind of continuously send for that long. So within each email, are you doing kind of, and I've heard people do this before, where it's, maybe you send content rich for 3, and then you have a pitch in the 4th email. Do you guys have a strategy like that, or what's included in every email? Is there kind of a pitch at the end of each email?
We actually did do something quite similar to that. I don't think it was sort of an ideal setup, but we made very good money off of AdSense, actually, because our list was quite big. So 3 days a week, essentially, we would send them to a blog post. But that was written by like a good financial author. Mm-hmm. So I'd write the email, and it'd be, I have a structure that I use for the blog post emails that was just generally building curiosity essentially for the click, because in those ones you're really sowing the click. And then one day a week we would send them. Typically, we would send them directly to the offer. And so that's where I used primarily correlation emails to sell the product.
Quickly talk about correlation emails real fast.
All right, so these are kind of my baby, my secret weapon. It's simple as a concept. It's a little harder to master, but definitely doable. They're pretty much, you're taking either a common subject that people understand, or a topic that's relevant in the news, and making it relatable to your product. So I sort of strayed away from the news relevant ones as time went on, despite the fact that they do really well, because we would try and put a successful blast email back into the autoresponder. But you could take a topic like, really anything, like Ebola, and relate that to your product. That one's a little tricky because some people can get offended, but you can take, like, I watched a show called Combat Rescue. I remember I watched like 6 episodes in a day, and I was like, oh, it's a bloody waste of my time. I should have been writing. And I was like, well, how can I turn this into something? And so there were a couple of concepts within that, like the way that they're trained. It's like the pararescue guys. So how are they trained to save people? And it's like made into muscle memory. They have a step-by-step process, and then the other part was the golden hour. And so, like, I haven't written this in. You can honestly, like, if you get the right lead, you can relate these to anything. And I think in the advanced thing, I'm going to probably give away like 5 or 10 of these leads that you can just relate to your niche or product. But so, like, for that one, say with dating, you can go, you can give them the sort of step-by-step part, and then say for the golden hour, you just say, in dating, it's not a golden hour, it's a golden 5 minutes, where everything you say in the first 5 minutes dictates the rest of the conversation from there on out. And if you fumble in those first 5 minutes, you're essentially screwed. So you need to learn the exact strategy for what to do within those 5 minutes to be successful. I talk about this exact strategy within my product. Click the link below for the details. So. I mean, that's
Okay.
essentially what I'm doing when I write an
Yeah.
email. Is what I just said. I just take something that's what you're doing is, it's helpful for people that aren't particularly smart when they're reading, because you can make something relatable. It's also great for smart people. It just makes anything like one of the most profitable, actually the most profitable email I ever wrote was about having a stone in your shoe, which is always kind of makes me laugh. But it's like, you just take that concept, everybody understands it, and if you can explain it well, you know what happens when you get a stone in your shoe. You walk up to the wall next to you, you take off your shoe, you shake it around until the stone falls out, and then you pop your shoe back on and carry on with your day. But nobody just keeps walking with the stone in their shoe. However, with whatever problem your market's struggling with, they can just keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off because it's not an immediate problem. So you have to treat it like an immediate problem, like it's a stone in your shoe, and take action and solve it today, which is what I teach you in my product.
Yeah. It's funny, just hearing you talk about this stuff, I think that people just overcomplicate what you can write in an email, and they try to get too fancy, or they worry about it not being professional or whatever else.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. I mean, that's a huge benefit also of writing with the schedule, is that you're just not going to miss a day. Like, we were sending, say, 4 days a week, but I'm not going to just not send. So you just get shit done. And I honestly, if there was one philosophy that I could teach people, and a book that just had 3 words in it, it would just say, just hit send. I mean, the amount of over-analysis that people do on emails is mind-blowing. Like, even what Derek and I have been doing over the past few days, it's just like the amount of just, like, I mean, this may be too far extreme, but I really don't edit. Like, I literally will write my email and then I just hit send. Because you're just going to be spending this unnecessary time sort of trying to figure out, is this perfect, is this right, nobody knows what's perfect, nobody knows what's right. Your market will tell you what's right with their wallets. And so, you just send out, and that's also one of the biggest advantages to sending a lot, is that you don't have to write perfect emails all the time. It's sort of like, in weightlifting, it's the same thing. You say 80% of your workouts are just going to be sort of middle of the road, whatever. 10% of them are going to be absolute shit, and 10% of them are going to be phenomenal. And you're going to get those gains in those, in that 10% or in the 20% of great workouts you have. It's the same in emails. A lot of them are going to be just sort of pretty decent. And then you'll write some that people just are like, wow, that's amazing. And it sort of blows their mind. But it's that constant, you're not attached to the result if you're sending a lot, because you don't have to write this perfect email, because they're
Yeah.
hearing from you a lot.
It's interesting to think about email. Email's a daily thing for people, and there's so many different emails that come into your inbox and go out and get deleted or archived or whatever else. In relation to what you said about the content that was on that site that you're working with, where it was an author, a financial author who had a lot of experience, and was a good writer, and that was being published onto the blog. But the only purpose of your email was a quick, thing to get them to click over. So probably, overthinking email and using it as just almost using it incorrectly, I guess you could say. It's like email's a little bit less about being perfect, and more about just like getting the communication out there. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, I
Yeah.
think what people don't understand about email is that it's fast. It's really quick. It's not like a page of copy. Like, I'll have sometimes, like, somebody will look at an email written and then they try and like fix a word here or a little sentence here or something, and it's like, honestly, that's the return on my time is just not valuable enough to do that, because people don't give a shit about one little word. Put some power words and some important stuff in your subject lines, as much as some people say subject lines aren't a big deal. And I really do believe that the ultimate goal of email marketing is to make the subject line obsolete, so that when somebody sees your name in the inbox, they just go, yep, I'm opening that. Doesn't matter what your subject line says. But the fact is I've seen results where a subject line makes a difference of 445% in click through and in sales. And so that's important. But as far as within the email, like, people think about when you read email, you're not reading every word in depth and, like, analyzing every sentence like you would in a book or even in a page of copy or something. You're just reading it. It's giving you some form of information or entertainment, preferably both, and then you click a link or you move on with your life. People read email in the toilet. They're just sitting there and they want something to read.
I'm one of those weirdos that reads sales copy on the toilet too. So
Hey, whatever floats your boat, man. I keep a copy of Jim Gaffigan's book on mine, so I get to laugh.
all right, we got a question from Phil, and this is a good one. Very new to this. How do you go about acquiring a list of lead emails usually? He works in the solar industry in Southern California as an independent contractor, if that helps. So let's talk about building a list, and maybe you can just talk about, because you're not necessarily the one building the list, it's the company that you're working for. But what kind of things have you seen the companies that you're working with, what kind of things do they do to build an email list?
Okay, so you have two main options as far as what you want to do with your list and who you want to put on it. You can either build a list of buyers straight away, so have them buy a Tripwire product, Tripwire being a low-cost front-end product like a $7 offer, or in some markets it can be higher. I'm sure in the solar industry, you guys, it's like $18,000 to $40,000 for the average install. Don't ask why I know that. I've heard an offer for something similar. So, so whether that's a $100 consultation or something, you can build a list of people. You just decide, I only want people who are buyers, and the quality of your list is going to be significantly higher because these people have fundamentally shown you that they are willing to exchange money for information. Or really you're selling direction is what you're selling these days. Information you can find anywhere. You're selling them real guidance. But as far as the actual list building goes, I mean, we're buying media on mass scale where I think we've had 9 billion impressions on an ad, and you've had 10 million people view it. So we're on a mass scale where you're trying to convert an offer to anybody. When you're in something specific, you have a lot more options. And then the other option than building a buyer's list is to have somebody opt in either through a survey funnel, which I've done, which can work really well if you can do it. That's the hard part about the survey stuff, is how hard it is to implement and the amount of work that goes into it. But
that's probably a good one for this space, seems like to me.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, especially with, I'm assuming that it's a high-end, a high-ticket offer in the solar space. A survey, honestly, a survey can work really well in anything if you know how to do it. And you have the technical skills and the technology and all the things you can do to actually make it work. And if you have the time, if you want to write, you can write 3 to 5 different autoresponder sequences based on each different bucket that people fall into. That's something I've really wanted to do in the dating space because nobody's doing it, and it's a real good space to do it in. But a lot of the big guys are going to be trying to build buyers lists. They either have affiliates send to their offers or whatever, and the people that are on their list are buyers. That's why they make so much money. But if you want to build a free list, I think in some ways probably trying to think of traffic and stuff like that. In my opinion, the real goal of marketing is to be able to buy a customer, to be able to use paid advertising to acquire leads and customers. But that being said, there are times when you want to do free stuff. One of the best things to do is, and this is my first, foray into it, but JVs, joint venture stuff, just because if you have something really valuable to offer that fits a list well, it's a lot easier to get into contact with people than you think, and you can build, a list of buyers doing that. You can guest post. You can something that where people are making huge money is within Facebook, just posting relevant content specific to a certain type of niche, which you can either do for free or very cheaply, like $5 a day, if you write compelling content for a certain sort of hyper-focused niche of people. you can build a really, even with a small list that can make good money, just by curating really quality content for them.
So it sounds like you're of the mind of building a list of buyers versus building out a big list of kind of free subscribers.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think it is market dependent. But I mean, if you have the option, I would say build the buyers, but you have to be really fucking good at copywriting. And I think it's sort of, I mean, to get these mass offers converting on the front end takes a lot of, first off, it's not just the front end offer, which is, a key part of it, but the amount of money that they're making on the back end will blow your mind. But the people buying a $7 product and ending up with a cart value of literally like $600, which blew my mind. But I think building a free list is totally fine, and I think it's a lot easier because you can use email to continue to warm people up. It's just a way that you can put somebody on there, and then they just hear from you regularly, and they end up really liking you and wanting to buy from you. If you do things right, there's that mix of sending them a bunch of really good free shit, and then they go, you're like, hey, here's something to buy, and they're like, oh, well, what are you doing? I don't want to buy anything. You're supposed to give me stuff for free because your time's worthless in my mind. And, people don't realize that it costs money to send this stuff and do it. But I think a free list is totally a great way to do things if you do your email right.
Yeah.
And I do think, though, you can offer something. I think you should be offering something right after the opt-in, though, like a one-time offer or some like an arbitrage offer, which is just something to set off your lead costs.
What's an arbitrage offer?
An arbitrage offer would just be something that after somebody's opted in, you give them an offer of some sort, and you get enough people to convert on that it covers your lead cost, so that you're acquiring customers at break even, and then everything after that is profit.
Got it.
Your goal with paid advertising is to acquire as many customers as possible at break even, or sometimes even at a loss, and then recoup everything on the back end. Which is why it's hard to do if you don't have the capital or different things. But if you're going to build a list for free and do different stuff like that, I really just recommend having something, a quality landing page, and then decide if you want to give people something for free or if you just want them to opt in to hear from you. The strategy is going to dictate sort of how you want to do things. But as far as trying to get to like the actual core question, that is so the other option is, and this is one I like quite a lot, is you have the front end tripwire to acquire buyers, but you have a two-step order form. So people put in their name and email, and then they click continue, and then they fill out the cart there. And so say a normal cart abandonment rate could be 50 to 70%. So once people have landed on your order form, 50 to 70% of them will probably leave. But you've already gotten their email, so you can now follow up. But that's something I'm actually writing this week, is a follow-up sequence to convert what's called like a hot list, the people that didn't buy but that ended up on that filled out the first step. It's a really good way to do things because you still got their email, you can still market to them, and try and convert them on your products. And
yeah, I'm kicking myself right now because I don't have one of those set up with Copywriter, but I've done that in the past, and it's I don't know why I didn't go back to it because it's a fantastic thing to do.
Yeah, I was looking at your site the other day. I opt in if I want to.
Yeah.
I realized you can't even. I don't think you can even opt in right now.
No. I'm of the mind of building with Copywriter, at least of building just buyers at the moment.
Yeah, so, which I think is I think a two-step opt-in actually I think would be great there, just because the people with a buyer's mindset at worst. They're different than you got to realize that the people that fill in that first bit are of a higher quality than people who just opt into a list, because they did have the intent of buying. And so it may not have been their fault. It may be that your order form looks like shit. It may be that they just, that mom called them right then and they didn't finish the order or whatever it is, and they still want it. and then you just stay in their head, and then they end up buying. But I think that also is a testament to the quality of the people on your list. Is that's something that you have to make a choice of too. Is who do you want to deal with? Do you want to deal with people that just are freebie seekers and are just going to complain and make excuses all the time, or do you want to deal with people that are willing to exchange money for knowledge and direction and guidance? And in my mind, especially if you're running your own business, I would always go the buyer route because the people are better. You're just dealing with people that don't complain and make excuses, and they're people, like, if you want to help people, you want to help people that are willing to help themselves. And by exchanging money, you've showed that you're willing to help yourself.
Awesome. All right, so got another question. Got one from Brian. Will, we're going to get to yours in a second, and maybe another one, or no, Jason here. So this is from Brian. How much do you push the unsubscribe option? I've seen people put at the top of every email, at the bottom, which most autoresponder companies force you to do. But I've seen people put it at the top of every email, at the bottom, and sometimes send an email only asking if they'd still like to be a subscriber. Which is best?
Yeah, the only reason people are putting, at least from my experience and in my knowledge, the only reason people are putting unsubscribe at the top of their email is because they're getting spam complaints. There's really no other reason. People want is, I like telling people to unsubscribe because you're going to get better people on your list. But as far as actually having one at the top, literally the reason that it's there is because they've gotten more spam complaints than they should be getting, and so that allows people the option to unsubscribe quickly without hitting spam. You learn shit that's just like mind-blowing when you deal with lists of hundreds of thousands of people, and I would have never understood any of this if I hadn't been through it. But I think somebody like Russell Brunson is one of the few people in the IAM niche that I've seen that has one at the top, and my assumption would be that he's getting too many spam complaints because if it's super hardcore.
Yeah.
But within the IAM niche, this is why I've never done stuff in the IAM niche. It's a totally different thing. You can't really, if people have only made their money in the IAM niche, you can't really trust them because everything's different. We understand the technology. Unless you're a real dick, you're probably not going to hit spam on somebody because it hurts them. But the reason for the unsubscribe at the top is if you're getting too many spam complaints. Otherwise, keep it at the bottom. And then as far as telling people like that sort of mindset, I enjoy it because I think it shows a level of honesty from the marketer. I know Derek will do that, and I enjoy it because it says, like, look, this is what I'm offering, and this is what I'm about, and if you don't like that, then I'm sorry, but this is what I'm going to do. And the best thing that you can ever offer your list is your most, the deepest part of yourself, the true you, not some bullshit idea of what you think you are, but like actually just being the way that you are. And so I think telling people to unsubscribe, it's polarizing. You're either going to get people that, especially with my personality, people either love me or they hate me. Maybe more hate, I don't know. But I think that's a real valuable part in email marketing, is that you have the ability to really let your personality come through, and telling people to unsubscribe helps build that trust factor. I hope that answers the question.
I think it definitely does. There's a quick one here from Jason. What strategies do you use to keep email out of the promotions tab in Gmail? That's just getting people to respond, right?
Yeah, so there's a couple with that. That's something I kind of forget at times because I changed my Gmail right when that came out, and I don't have a promotions tab. But there's a few. So if you look at actually Ryan Dice, interestingly enough, he'll end up in your primary folder at times. The same with I think Pat Flynn has a way. So what you want to do, that's part of the purpose of this Did You Get It email. And you can go a couple routes with that stuff, but I think how it works is, and I could be wrong, but I think it's if somebody's responded to you twice, then you are no longer in the promotions tab. So if you can get people to respond, and honestly, one quick tangent is that if you are operating in a small hyper-responsive niche, your ability to make money with email is so much better than a mass market. Like, you know the market, you know the people, you can communicate with them, they will respond, you have time to respond to them. If you say, have them fill out a survey on the 6 hours after they opt in or the next day, or you have them reply, you're going to get people that are just really into what you're writing, and you are going to get out of that promotions tab. So try and get people to reply. That's one way, and then another one is give them whitelisting instructions, and you can find that stuff. I'll actually give you an example, because I'm going to have to do this with the people that have bought the product, and the people that are going to buy the 80/20 email copy. Is that's something that I want to do, is get them out of the promotions tab. So for anybody who's going to buy, reply to me. But I'll show you. I'll give you an example within that. But there are different things you can link to too. You don't have to be some techie genius. Obviously, I'm not. Yeah, to get out of the promotions tab, whitelist, show people really, and have them create a filter, preferably. That's why it's a lot easier to do with buyers too. Is you go, look, you don't want to miss anything. You paid for this. I'm going to help you get the most out of this product. Let's work on this together. Make a filter, and let's make sure that you receive every email. So
Jason just followed up. Reply, or is a click sufficient? I think it's got to be a reply, right?
Yeah, reply.
Yeah.
A click.
I wonder if
clicks will help. I mean,
yeah.
people become important based on Gmail's going to integrate based on your actions. It's Google's smarter than us, unfortunately.
They're computers, man. Computers.
If you want to get people to reply, so one of the best ways to do that is, and this is something that's tougher to do when you get in the mass market too, because people they think you're a normal, if they think you're one person and you've got 5,000 opt-ins coming in a day, you're not going to respond. If you're doing something smaller, you can, and you don't always have to respond. But one thing that's pretty cool, this is sort of an advanced thing, something that I've heard of people doing. I haven't gotten to try this myself yet. Is you have somebody reply to the email with either, you can have them just reply and say, hi. Because what you do is you say, did you get this? Just hit reply to let me know so that I can sleep tonight. Because I'm not going to be able to sleep if I don't think you got what I gave you.
That's interesting.
So you can either have them respond with hey or something like that, or you have them respond with a statement like, I'm ready to improve my finances. I'm ready to meet all the women of my dreams. I'm ready to, write the best copy of my life. I want to become a great email copywriter. So one little statement like that initiates micro commitments, which is probably the most underestimated. If you've read Cialdini's Influence, which you should have if you're selling anything, micro commitments essentially are just when somebody says that they are a certain type of person, or they say that they're going to do something, they feel compelled to follow through on that promise. So if I tell you that I'm an honest person, I'm going to feel like I have to be honest because that's what I've said about myself. So if I were to be a liar, I'd be lying not only to you but to myself. So by having somebody say something like, I'm ready to become a great email copywriter, they feel compelled to follow through on that.
Should we have people say that right now?
Sorry?
Should we have people say that right now?
Everybody
Type into the
write
box.
that in the comments this second. But so that's that's one way to get people to reply and get them to feel compelled to open and click and buy from you.
Got it. All right, so Roderick, sorry if I am not saying that correctly. He wanted us to explain the two-step opt-in a little bit more. So that's basically just have people on their way to the final shopping cart, have people enter in their name and email address first, and then the next page is the shopping cart with their shipping details and billing details. Correct, Ian? That's how you guys have done it?
Correct. Yeah. So it'd be like, say I'm sending. Derek and I could have done this for this or whatever, but you send somebody to your offer, and then when they click that checkout button, either you can have it pop up as like a light box type thing, that's what they're called, and have people put in their name and email, and it'll say that they're 50% of the way or whatever, and then they get to the next one, and then that's where the actual checkout form is. Or you put the name and email directly on the page, and then checkout beneath it, and then they get to the actual checkout form. So it's just like it's a micro commitment again. You're just getting them to put in a piece of information before they have to put in that total thing. So instead of this intimidating block of 4 to 6 on their credit card number, the expiration date, and all that bollocks, you just pop in the your email, and name, which is obviously less of a commitment, and then you put in the other stuff. And like I said, and this is something I didn't know at all until, it's a lot that, I've learned so much in the past, couple of years. It's just like, if somebody would have put my brain into my old head, I think it'd explode. But but like something like that, like I didn't even know that checkout forms generally had a like a 50 to 70% bounce rate. I thought if people were like, I'm going to buy this, then they would just buy it, But that's a huge place for you to pick up a lot of lost revenue and profit, is people that get to that page and then they leave and then they never hear from you again. So now you have the option to market to them again, or and don't think I'm some hardcore like pitch. I do like to pitch in every email, at least in the sense of like, you have to know how to do it, and that's where I use like the Mr. Miyagi emails, I call them, because I think I'm clever. But you want to give somebody something like, go here for the details. But as far as like that two-step opt-in, you really are allowing yourself, like I just ran the numbers on the stuff that I'm going to be doing, and I can't, I'm not going to give away too much, but essentially if I can only convert 10% of these people, it's an extra few $100,000 a year worth of pure profit, because the lead cost has already been spent. So, if that takes me 3 hours to write a 7-day autoresponder sequence, then that's a return on my time of like $80,000 to $100,000 an hour, which is valuable time, in my opinion. And that's what I'm striving for, is how can I get the most out of my time? And that's where that two-step opt-in can be really powerful. It might have been way longer explanation than needed, but
no, that's great. My thing, I'm trying to go back up into these questions, and it keeps bumping me back down, because I know that I had a question from Will. Okay. Crap, man. I'm trying to like select this thing. I use Stealth Seminar for this to like host the live Google Hangout, and it's a little janky sometimes, but anyways, let me...
I haven't used any of those. This is my first webinar, guys.
This isn't even a webinar, so...
Whatever it is, I don't know.
All right. After I feel like my sales copy chops are ready for prime time, should my next step be working with my own product or trying to court clients? If I should do the latter, how do I land that first client? All right, so really this is a little bit beyond what we're talking about today. Ian, maybe you can talk about what you
I'll give you a quick little, my quickest speaking version. I think going with clients is a way to get your beak wet. I think that's a politically correct way to say what I was trying to say. In copywriting, I've written, just over the past 2 months, I've written like 6 sales letters, and a lot of people, even people who have their own business, haven't written more than 1 sales letter. So there's just no better way to get really good at copy than to write a ton of fucking copy. Write stuff for products that go find a product on ClickBank that's converting and write your own version for it, or go, if you can't find clients or whatever. But getting clients really isn't that hard, and I think one of the biggest things with finding clients is that it's way easier to find email clients than it is to find copy clients.
Why is that? What is it about email copy right now?
Okay, so it's because the people that are willing to spend a minimum of $5,000 to pay you to write a sales letter are making a lot of fucking money, right? And they know what they're doing. And they don't want any Tom, Dick, or Harry that's just like, hey, I want to write copy. You know, they want somebody who's like, yeah, I've written for this person and this person and done this, right? So that's not to say that you can't get good clients without experience. I'm just saying that to find really good clients, and get, paid, $5 grand plus royalties, you've got to have some form of a track record. But with email, I mean, you don't even have to write email for direct response people. The first thing I did was I got a thing on Craigslist, and I went in and I was like, I said the word drip, like a drip campaign, the word autoresponder, and like building a relationship, and they were like, okay, when can you start? And I was a 21-year-old or 22-year-old kid just out of college, trying to, I had a shaved face. I looked like I was 14, and they paid me pretty well because nobody knows anything about email. Everybody's clueless, and if there are real brick and mortar businesses that are making money, they are willing to pay you way more than direct response people are. Like if somebody, I'd probably charge like $200 an email or something like that right now. But you can go and find a brick and mortar business that's doing, thousands upon thousands of dollars a day or $100,000 a day, and they're willing to pay you $800 to write an email, and you don't have experience. Like that's a real, my roommate might be listening to this, I don't know, but he just got paid $800 to write an email.
To write one email?
Yeah, which I was like, fuck you. I'm the one with the experience. What are you doing? Like in my mind. And I read the email and I edited it and stuff, and I was like, this, because they don't know what it's worth, but also they're selling a high ticket product, a software where one person's worth $1,000, $2,000. So why wouldn't they pay $800? Because if it gets only one sale, they've made money back on their investment. So that's why with email you can do so well. It's like I like to break it down really simply, is that if every email somebody sends makes them $100, why wouldn't they pay you $20, $50? Because they're not going to do it anyway, right? If each email makes them $1,000, why would they have any issue paying you $100 or $200 to write an email? If their emails, which something, they're making $5,000 to $10,000 an email, they can pay you $500 an email and be happy to do so. Whereas with copy, first off, copy takes a lot longer, and it's generally one-off. So you're going to write, a sales letter, and then it's like, all right, see you later, or we'll call you when we have new stuff. Email's evergreen and ongoing, so if you write somebody a new 10-day autoresponder, and they make money with it, and then you go, well, you know what, you're also missing out by not emailing them after that, and then you have a monthly contract. So it's slightly up to, but as far as getting clients with copywriting, that is the actual strategies are a bit beyond the scope of this, and I know guys like Rob and Derek have really good ways to get people. My biggest tip for that would be take every single opportunity that comes in front of you. Like if you get an email that says this person's looking for a copywriter or this person's into this, like fill it out, do everything required, and try and get it, because you don't know. It's not just that. Like the way that I got my last gig was I applied for the thing with Steve Gray that Andre and Steve Gray had sent out. It was a job in Dallas, and I got to the last two people and ended up hiring some bloke who had more experience than that. And so I was like, oh, cool, no worries. But that's how the recruiter then introduced me to the other person, and then that's how I got all this knowledge. And the only reason I got it is because I was willing to respond to an email, fill some shit out, and try and make a difference, in my life, and take every opportunity. So if anybody offers you something, even if it's for free at the beginning, take it. Write as much as you possibly can, because hand copying is amazing, and it's a great way to do things, but if you don't actually write, you're not going to learn that much. You're not going to really test yourself, I guess. Tangents
awesome. Man, just write 100 emails in a month and you're done for the year at $800 an email. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean that obviously won't be.
I know that's not going to be
still, I mean, that's
typical results, but yeah, that's crazy. All right, trying to go back through here and see what else we got. And again, this a little bit of a technical difficulty today.
I'm curious as to how people have enjoyed this so far. But
people are responding. I guess everybody can see what's going on in the chat room. So yeah, there are just a few core people saying some stuff. Thank you to Liz for answering some questions in there. Um, Jason says he's looking forward to the 80/20 course.
Cool.
And I'm trying to go up because there's a question about autoresponder madness.
One quick thing on the 80/20 course, because we had an issue with this, is that to do the advanced training, you do need to make sure that you select the advanced box on the checkout page, because both of the, as I said, I'm technically about as gifted as, I won't make one of my appropriate analogies, but both of the enroll buttons go to the same page, and you have to hand select the advanced option. So make sure that you do that if you want to do the webinars, because we've had that issue so far. Just throwing that out there.
I hope everybody didn't just get logged off. I don't know what just happened. I might have just deleted all my emails. No, I didn't. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, for the live stuff, Jason was just saying Webinar Jam is a little bit better for live hangouts.
Yeah, I've heard good stuff about that.
Yeah. I really like Stealth Seminar for obviously the stealth stuff, but this is, I don't know, this has been a little bit hard to do. All right. What else do we have? We have Baron asking some questions here. Autoresponder Madness, whose product is that? Talk about Autoresponder Madness versus 80/20 email copy. Obviously, we're not trying to pitch you guys here. Just what are the difference between those two there?
Yeah. So I'm not trying to hard pitch some shit or anything like that. I'm just giving you information here. Autoresponder Madness is Andre Chaperon's product. I got it back when I was like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, and that was like when I really thought my marketing knowledge started. I was just buying, ClickBank product, return it, buy, return, don't do anything. Andre's stuff is really next level. It's really good email teaching. I've read it like 3 times, 4 times, and that was really how I got all the money I made online started out with writing shit for other people at the beginning, and then I had a website that was making money. But I did that all through just positioning myself as an email copywriter. I don't think I even knew what copy meant, but I knew how to write emails. But the issue with, and I owe Andre a lot, and I've talked to Andre and met him. He's like the humblest dude I've ever met. He like got super uncomfortable when I kept saying thank you. But it's the thing about Autoresponder Madness is that it's very complex. And I mean, the main overarching theme is tell stories, tell good stories, and build in a lot of open loops and cliffhangers. And it can work great if you know what you're doing. But I actually have talked to some high-level marketers lately, and pretty much everybody's going with the more like daily email pitch at the bottom. Let me sort of rap on what's on my mind type of stuff. And I think part of that is it's actually making more money, but it's also way easier. I mean, even Andre will say he'll spend 2 hours on an email. I write pretty much all of my emails in 20 minutes or less. I mean, some of them are 10. I used to write the blog post ones, and like I would literally just set my timer and see if I could do them in under 5 minutes. And so it's. I mean, the big thing is the stories and the loops, but it can be great for a really small niche if you really like know your market. But the whole idea of the stories is that you know your market so well that when you're writing to them, they feel like, holy shit, this guy's in my brain. And you can't do that in a mass market because you're writing to the 55-year-old divorcee and the 35-year-old businessman. And it's just also, I think the one big gap that I've seen in email products is accountability and real structures for writing emails and getting them done. Because templates can work, but the thing about templates is that they don't teach you anything. You just fill in the blanks and then you've got an email, cool, but you don't actually have a skill at the end. And then on top of that, they also use the other author's voice, because you're just filling in sort of their blanks. Whereas when you get sort of structures and templates that have these, or structures and formulas that have step-by-step stuff, you can just fill it out. Like I told Derek, I actually want to test this, but I want to have a 6th grader actually use these structures and formulas and see if they can write an autoresponder, because I think they could. So the big difference is, also there's the hand copying element, which I think I heard Derek saying earlier that it really isn't a necessary thing. It's for the overachievers. I highly recommend it. But I'd rather you wrote your own emails and walked away with an autoresponder. Or if you're an advanced marketer, walked away with either a new autoresponder to test or tweak your own so that it gets more conversions. But the big difference is a lot of it's speed, and then having specific email types. And also one thing I do want to get across to people is that 10 isn't the end goal. You want to get those 10 done, but it's really hard to run a profitable business off of 10 emails. You do want to keep marketing to people, and the problem is that's too scary and too intimidating and overwhelming. If emails take you a long time and you feel like they have to be perfect, you're better off just writing an email that takes you 20-25 minutes and having stuff to send. So something I think we're going to do, at least on for the advanced, is I'm going to write an email where you can just sort of look over my shoulder, and I'll just write it live, and you can see how quick it is and how I'll write it. I can do it in a niche that I don't know or whatever, just using these. And that's what that's why I'm doing this. I do write copy full time. This isn't my primary income source. I really just see a gap, and if I were to go back and learn marketing again, this is exactly what I would want to do. It's like I've talked to Derek, if it weren't for Copy Hour, I wouldn't be where I am. So that's not me trying to pitch it. I'm just saying that I think that the big difference is that it'll really help you get shit done and hit the send button, which is what holds so many people back.
Definitely. We've got a couple more questions coming in here. From Roderick. What do you do when you don't have significantly important data on email open rate? Or so what do you do when when you don't have statistically significant numbers? Or what? Actually, I don't know if I'm understanding that correctly. But what do you do when you don't have significantly important data on email open rate? What rule of thumb can we expect? So maybe what kind of open rates can you expect?
Okay. Well, first off, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but forget about open rates. Honestly, that's just not the metric that you want to be worried about. It's, first off, the technology is faulty. They have to have a pixel fire within the email for it to even register as an open. That being said, though, the first time I ever wrote an autoresponder, I was getting 50% opens and 30 on the first email, and then 30 to 40% for the next 6 emails. And I had no idea what a good open rate was, so I thought this was terrible. I thought 30% open rates were awful, so I stopped writing. And I stopped doing the sequence because I was like, what's the point? Barely anybody's opening this. Little do I know that, the mass lists, we're getting 10% to 15% opens on a free list. You can get about 4 to 10 times the response from a buyer's list. I wouldn't worry about opens a lot, but the statistical significance isn't super important if you're not trying to publish results and stuff like that. You can still get an idea from your own list and learn what they want. I have a testing sheet that I use, and I can I'll be given in the advanced stuff and showing how to use it. But the statistical stuff isn't that. The important stuff is the principles behind it, which I go into the guide stuff. Is what you learn from it is more important than the actual specific test itself. But if you don't have a ton of people, you can still always test 2 subject lines. I don't care if you have 15 fucking people on your list, test 2 subject lines. Because one of them may outpull by 100%. So, but honestly, I would try and move your mindset away from opens and focus on either click-through rate or sales, preferably sales. But if you make money by getting people to click, then focus on that. But just always be testing something, even if it's just for your own knowledge.
So talk about that a little bit more, because Jason just asked, what would you worry about if you're not watching open rate?
So it totally just depends upon what your goal is. I would say for 95% of people, you should be focused on sales, track sales. And that's the crazy thing. That's the thing about email. It's not a science. Nothing is specific. Somebody may buy on day 10 from that email because day 7 made them want to buy. But I would work. I'd think about sales first, and then if you're so the end goal dictates the strategy of the email. If you're writing an email to get a click, focus on the clicks. Like if you're sending them to a really good VSL, focus on getting as many clicks as possible because the VSL does the selling. If the VSL is shitty or the product, sales page is crap, then write really good emails and focus on selling within the email.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, it's really the end goal dictates the email. Like, I mean, if you're gonna walk up a hill, you can go barefoot up a grass hill. If you're gonna go climb Everest, you're gonna want different gear and use a different strategy, right? So that's the big thing, but I would at very least focus on click-through rate as opposed to open rates. Open rates really are not, and this is what's crazy. So for these subject lines that'll outpull a click-through rate by 400%, the open rate difference is like 5 to 20%, maybe. I don't think we've ever had a win over like 25%. Open rates just aren't that important. But the subject line dictates the mood of the person and their mindset and perception for the entire email. Being able to write really good subject lines really is an incredibly powerful skill. But I would track, no matter how small your list is, test 2 subject lines, but track click-through and get people clicking from day one, by the way. Don't write emails that don't have anything to click. If anybody's on my 80/20 life hacker list, you may notice that I don't have stuff to click, but I just write that as like a brain thought to write stuff that I think is useful and it's fun, and it's something I do that I don't make money from. But if I had stuff to link to, I would do that just to condition people. You want to condition people to click everything in your emails.
So there's a link in all of the emails that you're sending out for the financial company and then also for Crisis now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Crisis, we do things a lot differently. If anybody's on their list or any of that stuff, you might see things change. They've got a very different strategy than what most of us would think of. But when you're on the scale of trying to create a new offer that makes $10 million, not an extra million, your mindset shifts. And don't think this is any of me bragging. I'm not making this money. But I'm also, so this is another example. I'm just doing this. I'm trying to learn as much as humanly possible and write as much as possible to get better and better and better every single day, because then you can write your own ticket and do whatever you want. But as far as, always have something to click. Even if anybody here has been through autoresponder madness or they were curious, look at Andre's emails now that he sends out. He links in every email. The days of not linking to a product or having something there are dead. Because you've got to realize that somebody may be ready to buy on day 1, and some people may not be ready to buy till day 35. But you want to give that day 1 person an option, because if they're just like, okay, I can't even buy anything, I don't want to keep reading this, I want the solution now, I'm ready to exchange money for it. And so one of the best ways to do that without being salesy within like a welcome email or something like that is in a PS, you just put, hey, for anybody who is already, ready to jump on the train and get this product, go here. So it's not like a, hey, like I'm trying to pitch you, I want to sell you this thing right now. You're just saying, look, I understand that some people want to buy this now, and here's a way to do it. It can be that simple.
All right, so people are asking about some tools, and then also some tools for tracking split testing subject lines. So what do you recommend for managing a list in autoresponders? So MailChimp versus GetResponse versus Aweber, anything else? And then also, what tool do you use to track or split test subject lines?
Okay, so I'm not the tech dude. That being said, I have used MailChimp back in the day for some stuff. I don't really like it. GetResponse I've never used. Honestly, if you're not building a huge list, and by huge I'm saying 100,000, then I would use Aweber. Not because it's exceptional or anything like that, but because you can get AW Pro Tools, honestly. One of the things that pissed me off most in the email marketing that I was doing is I wanted to segment from day 1. I think segmentation is one of the most powerful things you can do. And I've had experience, like it's kind of nuts what happens with segmentation. Say you've got a list that's getting 10 to 20% opens and clicks of a few percent. You put people onto a segmented list and you have them raise their hand, and you're getting 60-70% opens with 50% of people clicking, or 20%, which is outrageous comparatively. But Aweber, if then you get AW Pro Tools, it allows you to just do stuff that's way more advanced.
So that's Aweber and AW Pro Tools are separate things.
Yes.
So Aweber's the core, and then AW Pro Tools is kind of an add-on.
Yeah, Jack developed that.
Yeah.
I mean, it essentially makes Aweber like Infusionsoft without spending $3,000 to set something up and having people breathing down your neck if there's any sort of Infusionsoft has some weird shit, but it's not a solution if you're trying to build a 100,000, 500,000 person list. I mean, it can be, I guess, but it's the best thing for the individual marketer and for anybody who's like a copywriter who writes with much bigger lists. You're already going to know that you need different software, and it gets very advanced as things go on. But for basic stuff, I mean, Aweber really is a great way to do it. And there's something I'm going to try and put this into the product, because this is something I need to be doing with my own emails that I'm not. Is there's a way to get, you may have noticed other people's emails now, like Ryan Levesque and I think even Andre and different stuff. They have a much bigger text and they're very narrow, and it just makes it really easy to read on the eye. And sometimes Aweber will just make things look sort of shit. So
yeah, you can do that within Aweber. Actually, you can set the size and do all that, and that's actually within AW Pro Tools. You can just insert your text and then and then it loads it and sends it via or then you load it into Aweber from there. But
you don't need AW Pro Tools necessarily, but with some of the stuff, I will get into that within like the product, and I think even if you don't have product, whatever, like I think segmenting is just a really powerful strategy. Especially like the bigger your list is, you can essentially, I mean, the bigger your market is, the more mass market it is, you can start to segment people down into the smallest niches so that you can write them just ridiculously focused email messaging that makes them feel like you wrote specifically like to them, for them.
Yeah.
And that's where AW Pro Tools will come in handy.
Yeah, so I think that's a good place to start for pretty much anybody is Aweber, and I've used all three of the ones that are mentioned here, but Aweber's the best, and it's gonna get, like we had this last year as the DDoS attacks, and it was a pain in the ass, and people's assignments were getting messed up and everything through Copy Hour, but pretty much all of them were getting hit around the same time. So if
you're not on the scale of sending out hundreds of thousands of emails a day, then I don't personally know of a better solution, especially for the cost.
Yeah. All right. So one more question
split
about
testing. Just real quick, I didn't say, but have you split tested with any Aweber, Derek?
Yeah, you can. Well, you can split test the broadcasts, and I've actually heard people split testing autoresponders, but I don't know how to do that. So I don't know if anybody knows anything about that, but when you send a broadcast, you can split test the headlines.
Yeah, and you'll learn, one of the things about the subject lines is that it's not just like that specific subject line, but you're learning the patterns of what your list enjoys. And I mean, that's how, like, when I looked at some of the subject lines I wrote like a year and a half ago, and it like kind of made me want to throw up. They were so bad compared to like what I write now, because I've analyze so many, and that's where like I legitimately use I have the 71 subject line email formula thing. I open that every day when I'm writing, because these are proven winning subject lines, and like, but the thing is like you can use these, you don't have to use these, you can use whatever subject lines you want to write yourself, and find out what works best for your list, because your list is going to respond to certain things, but that little split test can make a huge difference.
Awesome. All right, so I think this Phil had a question, and I'm not sure if this was related to what we just talked about, but what products do you use every day? So maybe like, what are you writing in on your computer? Like maybe what apps, or are you using anything for writing? Any other tools that we should know about?
Yeah, I think you're all gonna laugh at me. I write in an RTF file on my Mac. I open a raw text file
So do
and
I.
I
Yeah,
just
that's how
write.
I do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so simple, but also because the problem with writing within Word or Google Docs, I know people do. I fucking hate when they underline my shit and tell me that it's a fragment or something. Like I intentionally write with fragments in my copy because periods and punchy sentences are way quicker to read. And that's one thing you want to always make sure your emails are just fast, like as few commas as possible. Um, just like really, really moving people from that first line and building that momentum so that they finish that email as quickly as they can. But I just write I use a text file. Uh, when I write copy like a VSL, especially with the shit I've been doing lately, if it's super like intense and I have references and I'm telling them what to pull up within a VSL and all this crazy stuff, I put it into Word after I've written it, because we do comments and stuff. But to be perfectly honest, this is going to sound even crazier. I handwrite my copy. Um, I take my notepad and it doesn't matter, like if I have a deadline or whatever I have, I don't care. Sometimes I'll look at the page and just think I literally have no idea what I'm going to do, but I just start writing. And I have a few things I do, a few little tactics that I use to get myself flowing. But I hand copy, and then I use drag and dictate, to dictate the copy back onto my computer, which actually serves a double purpose because it allows you to read it out loud once, but before it's even written down. And then I read my copy aloud a few times before I make it final. But for like real copy. But I hand copy for sales letters. And drag and dictate, by the way, is really cool if you're American. And it fucking sucks for me because I
Well,
can't
you're
figure out
American, aren't you?
I can't figure out if I want to put it on English or Australian. So I have two different profiles. I'm half English and half American. If anybody, that's probably been the only reason you're listening still, is wondering where the hell I'm from. But it just gets annoying because I either have to use my old proper British accent to try and make it work, or I go like Australian or whatever. But I don't want to be in here. I can do my American accent as well, and it hears you way better. So drag and dictate works really well for that. It's a couple hundred, but it's like $200 or something, 170. But that was really worth it for me, and that's actually something I would totally recommend for people that struggle with writing, is get drag and dictate your emails, because it's so much easier to you can talk out a 200, 300 word email in a minute or two, literally
Yeah,
like 2 minutes.
that's interesting, I guess, because an email really is, obviously it's just kind of a quick communication. So
And it's
maybe it
very
would be best
colloquial,
structured as how you talk. Yeah.
and it'll help you not write like a pretentious writer. You can just speak it as you would say it, and then it'll come across much more conversational, which works really well for email. So that's something that I would totally recommend for people that struggle with writing. The idea of just typing and doing that stuff is drag and dictate. You can also the Mac has a built-in thing. It's not quite as good, but actually I think for anybody who has an iPhone, at least newer than an iPhone 4 like I have, you can dictate into Siri, and it uses the same stuff. And there's a drag and dictate app that's free, so you can actually just use that and then copy it over if you want to test it out for free.
Jason just said the same thing, actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Other tools though for writing, I've tried Scrivener. I might start using that a bit. I use that for a couple letters, but not really. I mean, I really just like to keep it simple. Your brain, there's something also with, if you've done hand copying, or you're going to, there's something special about writing on a yellow piece of paper that makes your brain smarter than you are. It's just that idea. I mean, you've written Gary Halbert letters and all these great things on this yellow piece of paper, and so when you go to write your own stuff, your brain just fires up all those same neurons that you use to learn.
yeah. All right. So here's another question from Phil. Any other tips for people brand new to this? So, I don't know where that your mind will take that, but if you could just maybe talk.
Okay. Yes. So tips for people that are brand new to this.
Brand
Um,
new to email marketing and autoresponders.
okay. It's a lot easier than you think, would be the first thing I would want to say. It does not have to be complex. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a great writer. You don't have to be brilliant. You don't have to, it's really the easiest. It's the best skill you can have online as far as the 80-20 of actual email marketing goes. It's the 20% that gets 80% of the results. And then if you can learn how to be, 80-20 your email marketing skills, it's going to be a lot better. But as far as like coming into it new, get it done. Write some stuff and put it in an autoresponder and test it, or just write some stuff. Even if you don't test it, get some stuff written, and it doesn't matter how bad it is. Like, I'll be writing, and keep in mind I've been doing this for for a bit now, and I'm writing for some big stuff, and I'll be writing, and I will think that I'm retarded at times. I know it's not politically correct, but I won't believe how bad what I'm writing is, and then when I read it back, I'm like, that's a lot better than I thought. But write without judgment. Just put words down. And that's the thing about using formulas and structures, is that you don't have to guess what to do next or what to write next. The other thing is just write. Like, don't edit yourself while you write. Don't even backspace and do shit like that. Just write stuff out and get it done, and then you can edit it after. And then as far as like, I'm trying to think of the things as a beginner that you think of. Keep it simple. Use Aweber. Then you can get AW Pro Tools if you want to help do some more advanced stuff. But think of it as writing one email first, then a second email, and then just take it one email at a time. But get a 10-day autoresponder done, and then then just keep adding to it.
Yeah. So tomorrow you're going to film a video. I don't know if you've already made it, but you're basically going to walk people through the, I think, 6 different types of emails and where they fall into the sequence, right?
Yeah, so I did my first foray into attempting to make a video, and so it's done. We recorded it. I recorded it. It's the 6 emails in the sequence that you would want to use them in an autoresponder. So it's an exact sequence, and then I have the 3 other sections that I use. So the correlation and the Mr. Miyagi emails, and you can 100% use those within your 6 emails, but they are really like the backbone of what I do on a daily basis. And then the education-based marketing, or the get on my level shit, is just like being able to educate people through the important parts. So in the video, I actually show you the 6 email types in the order they go in, and then the 2 core types, and then the strategy behind it. It's not. I think it was 14 minutes. I tried to do it as quick as I could. I think it's really valuable. I would hope so. Yeah, I mean, it's a step that you can use this on your own and write something, or you can obviously get a much better idea of it with the course. But it's totally something that's valuable whether you do the 80-20 email copy stuff or not.
Yeah.
And that's something that is really tough as a beginner. Actually, is you're like, what do I write in what order? And that's something like even with Andre's product and other products out there, is that you're not getting like write this, then write this, then write this, then write this. It's just kind of like put together 5 days, like write 10 days. I hope it goes well for you. Like,
Yeah.
There's no like write this email. And I guess especially for the advanced stuff, I'll put in some like of the leads of useful correlation stuff, but you're gonna get a step-by-step, if that's what you want. You'll get a step-by-step structure and formula for each one of these types of emails, so that you can just, it's not fill in the blank in the sense of a template, but it's like, if you can read a sentence, then you can write the next the sentence type thing.
Yeah. All right, so it looks like we're coming to the end of this, and I actually have another webinar that I've got to record with the actor that I work with here. So Phil had a question that is, it's a little bit related to the getting work as an email copywriter, which seems like that's a pretty big question that people are having. which is cool. And maybe, I don't know, maybe you and I can put some stuff together, like real quick, our thoughts on this at some point in the future, because it seems like it's a pressing issue. But
Yeah.
he's interested to know any specific advice or any sort of specific brick and mortar businesses to approach for jobs. What would you say on that?
Yeah. Ones that make a lot of money. Um, as simple and dumb as that may sound, uh, people, if you want to go to a business that makes, a little bit of money, you can probably write for them, and they'll be really stingy about what they want to pay you, and they'll be scared of losing money. You can go to people like what my roommate's done. Is it was the company he was working at. They're in the financial business, and they do like mortgage hedging, and they're making, each one of the people in the business are making a few hundred a year. So, and the business is making, they're dealing with transactions of millions of dollars. So to pay you $1,000 is nothing, you know. So I would look for, I mean, I don't want to do the traditional doctors, lawyers, chiropractors, and that shit. I would find people, one way to start out is to go on Craigslist and just go in the marketing stuff and just see what people are offering. They don't even have to be in your area. Just like find them and just tell them what you know about email marketing. I don't get too into depth about it here, but think of the type of businesses that are doing really well, but that are probably doing 90. I mean, there are businesses online that are really successful that are doing email marketing poorly. So you can easily find stuff offline. As far as like a profile, I'm sure I could think about this more, but just try and think of the businesses around you or that are even in like a downtown district in the city that are making a lot of money, and see what you can do for them. Because like I said, they just don't have a problem spending money, because they know that it's the same thing with anybody who makes good money. Is people that make good money are willing to invest money to get better at what they do or to make more money from it. So look for rich people.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, I know that you got your start in your jobs in kind of a different way. So this is a little bit difficult for us to answer related to this, but I think that's good. I mean, yeah, start in your immediate circle and immediate people that you might know or immediate business owners.
I mean, I know
and work
people
off
that
of
like, I'll hear stuff from like a friend. Like I have a friend who has an online business who he 100% needs email marketing and he's not doing it, but I just don't have time. Like, and I know I could make money off that even if I became a stake owner in the business or whatever, because he's not doing any email. It's a business that's making money online. It's not a crazy amount that they're making, but they could double revenues with email, or double profits, because they're not even, that's the thing about email too, is it's generally purely profit, because you're not, if they already have a list or they already have stuff, there's no lead cost. So you can go in and tell people, I'm not just going to boost revenue, I'm going to just increase pure profit. Like, there's money on the table sitting there and you're not getting it, I can get it for you and you give me a percentage of it.
Awesome. All right.
Find people you know. That's sorry, is the last thing. You honestly might know people that either the business they work for or they do something where they're just not doing email. Don't be that like Dave who's like, oh, let me talk to your boss, let me get a job, something like that. But just like sort of learn about their business and find out. I'm yet to find a single business who can't benefit from email, or if they're already doing it, there are very few that can't improve.
All right. Well, we've been going for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ian, for your time. I mean, I think the people that showed up and were asking questions, and anybody who was just passively listening, I'm sure too, got some great value out of this.
If anybody's sitting at your office listening to this, hopefully none of my swearing made you laugh and get you in trouble. Yeah, it's fun.
Well, yeah. Hey, there's a question about the version of Dragon Dictate that you're using.
Whatever the newest one is, I think. I would also recommend getting a microphone for it. You can get, like, I have this really ugly looking geeky Plantronics thing that costs $25 that, like helps to eliminate the outside noise so that you're not talking into your computer microphone.
Yeah. And Eric just piped in, many financial industries like mortgage are clueless about email marketing, online marketing in general, and will pay a lot. You should have hit us up earlier, Eric. We could have asked you a little bit more about that. But
yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, I would look for financial industries. I got a friend who makes a lot of money in mortgage, and I guarantee he is not doing email, and he would gladly pay $1,000 a month if that meant he made an extra 2 or 3 grand a month.
Yeah. And there, even if you could find a successful real estate agent too, it's hard to it's hard to actually find a successful one, but those guys need it too.
My parents flip houses, and I guarantee that I could increase, because think about what they make in a sale is, 70, 80 grand. So if you can help them get that sale, they can give you a cut, or they can pay you to get the business. Just if you have time and you have email skills, you have an ATM machine essentially. Like I said, I just don't have time to write a bunch of stuff for different people, but I see opportunities every single day to make money.
Yeah, but you're working with a big company now too, so.
Right, but I'm not saying through that. I'm talking about like in my daily life. Like I'll have like a friend, or I'd see some business and I'm like, God, I could help them make money. I wish I had time.
Yeah.
But the writing is also a limited resource. You can't write 8 hours a day. So, I try to do a little bit for myself each day, and then I'm writing a ton for the company. So.
Yeah, I guess opportunities multiply as you get going with this stuff. The more that you dive in head first, the more stuff that's going to come your way, or the more opportunity that you're going to end up seeing.
Yeah, and that's the thing with email is it's really not that hard to generate, $1,000 a month off a little business. Like I do what I'm doing with the big stuff because this is what I decided that how I wanted to grow and learn. But if you want to do stuff on your own and build, even if you build 4 or 5 of these that make $1,000 a month each, or you want to build one that makes 10 grand, the choice is yours. But if you can write a good autoresponder and you can get a little traffic to something, which anybody can do with money, not with a lot of money, even $5 a day on Facebook, whatever, you can make money with email.
Yeah. All right. That is it. Thank you guys very much. If there are any questions or anything, you can just send them my way, and I can pass them on to Ian.
Yeah. Or if you want to email me directly, you can email me it's Ian, IAN at 8020copywriting.com. I'm having technical issues, of course, with even setting up an email with the email copy site. So also, if anybody is on here who's bought already and you haven't gotten the download guides or anything, I did send out, and I'll send out again, and I'm getting the download links fixed. I'll have them fixed this afternoon. And the email is 8020copywriting, not email copy, which was on the site. So.
Okay. All right. And yeah, we're everything gets kind of kicked off starting next week too. So cool. Thank you very much, Ian. I'm going to shut it down.
I had a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it.